Hello. Yeah, as Jose said, my name is Daniel. I'm software engineer and I've been working the last 4 years in Fortris and the last year as a software development manager. And in this talk, I'm going to speak about strategies and methodologies to apply for projects to scale and teams to grow. So basically, it's about organization, teams organization, and when in the companies started as a startup and they start scaling up, the different decisions that they have to take regarding methodologies and strategies. So for that, I'm going to use Fortris as a reference, as an example, in 13 moments in time since the company started to illustrate this. And in order to give it some context, let me to introduce you a little bit the company and what we're doing. So Fortris is a company dedicated to fintech products and based on blockchain and crypto. The main product right now is a platform. It's a crypto treasury management system for enterprise. What that means. I normally use an example so that everybody knows, because we all use our e-bank website where normally we log in and we can check our different accounts, credit cards, movements, and transfers that we do. So imagine a software that do something similar for big companies that normally has a big volume of crypto assets. There is a complexity dealing with the crypto when you want to do it in a regular basis, and the main two solutions that we bring with the software. The first one is the management of the crypto assets. So what we did is a abstraction layer on top of this complexity, technical complexity that the crypto has right now, and to make it simpler to dealing with these crypto funds, several accounts these companies has. And also having a software that is more closer to the business model. So normally these companies, what they have is an organization, and from this organization they have different businesses. From these businesses, they have an account where they can send and receive crypto funds. To bring an example, one client is related with the bet online, with the gambling industry. So you can have it different businesses like poker, sportsbook, or sorry, I missed it. So let's continue. We have the assets, and we can use it from a different point of view, payment, treasury, or from an operational point of view. So the more complicated is the operational. We have it automatic payment processor, and you can receive continuously deposits and withdrawals. And yeah, this is the most difficult to achieve. Yeah, and what I said is they have, with this software, they have something closer to their business models. And the other main solution is the self-custody. This is a problem. Imagine one of us as an individual, we want to invest 100 euros in Bitcoin. Normally what we do is go into a company and a exchange that you can pay with your credit card and receive some amount of Bitcoin. And this, for us, for this little amount, and us as individuals, is not a big problem. But they control this money, the changes, the change company. The problem with that is that they are not supported by governments. They are not supported by central banks, and they have it's a third company, a private company, controlling the money. So imagine that for companies that has a big volume. Let's say millions of euros. It's a big problem, having another private company controlling your money. There are solutions, in an example, the hardware wallets, but this is not operative and it's not realistic in a daily basis. And I don't know if you have seen ever a hardware wallet, but it's like a pen drive, and there is the keys that control that money. Normally, to operate with Bitcoin or any other crypto, you need a wallet, and a wallet has associated some keys, and that keys is what controls the crypto funds. So having a solution like plenty of these little devices is not operative for a company that has several accounts and for different purposes, treasury and operational, having like these different devices. And there is a saying in the crypto community that says, not your keys, not your money. If you don't have the keys, you don't control these crypto funds. So what we offer with the solution that Fortris brings is having the self-custody, so the client is in control of this in a secure and safe way. They're under control of the crypto funds all the time, 24 hours, 7 days a week. And here I'm going to put a very recent example here in the news that Coinbase is one of these exchange that has blocked 25,000 accounts that it was related with Russia, with all the problems that that's happening these days with the war in Ukraine, and they decide by themselves to lock this with no, let's say no intervention, let's say any government, any organization. They decided. So can happen this with our money? So it's a good example. I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to use Fortris and what happened. Fortris is a 4 years old, a little bit more old company. And I'm going to use each year with some milestones to how we have been evolving and organizing our teams inside the company for the project that I just explained. So the start, if the remote works, here. So the very first thing that when you, founding a company and starting a company and a startup is to define a company culture. So it's quite important to define a set of core values. But doing this, you're going to provide a stability and alignment to the company. Okay, everybody knows what is expected from them working inside the company. It's going to build trust and binding within the people working there, and help the new employees to fit the team. Okay, there are core values. I know what is expected from me, how I have to work, and also promotes a welcome culture. In Fortris, it was a very small group. I joined in the very beginning of the project, and the company culture, the values, it wasn't something that someone came and say, hey, Danny, here you have the list, this is the core value, this is what you have to do. It was more by example. I saw the people, how we work, how they behave in the day by day, and not necessarily has to be something that you completely define and have a list from the day one. But it's important to have it clear in mind what type of company culture you want for the company. And also, very quickly, I'm going to review, probably most of you know it, but another thing that you have to choose is the project management approach that you want to select. Here is the two quite different, let's say, approaches. Waterfall, that is the more traditional. Here, normally, it's linear, so normally what you do is first gathering all the information from the client, the planification, the execution, testing, and release. And you do everything in a row. So it's the traditional or old school approach, and now the use case is quite limited for the modern IT companies. But well, it could still have some room for 13 projects. Normally the project has to be small, well-defined, simpler, and has to have a very specific or some constraints in time and budget. So it's limited. You know perfectly when to start and when finish. You are not going to have too much communication with the client. Could be another possibility. And an example of that could be, I don't know, let's say a little agency that offers services of marketing, design, web development, and maybe you have to develop a web in 6 months, and you have a very limited budget and a unique or initial contact with the client, and that's it. In the other side, we have the Agile, that is the most companies are using. It's a more modern framework, and it's a set of principles. We are going to work by using these principles. A key one is the flexibility. Be capable to adapt to the continuous changes. It's iterative. We work in cycles. Okay, depending on the approach, the final implementation that you do could be different, but you normally work in this type of cycles, repeating the same as a waterfall, but in a more slower scale. And this is because it's intent for larger projects or undefined projects, like Fortris, that is a product company. You don't have an ending date. It's undefined, it's continuous, so this is why you work continuously. And you have to adapt to the new challenges, the new changes that are incoming continuously. Yeah, what I said. Also, the project has a scope for changing requirements, is what I said. It's continually changing. And here it is quite important you have contact with the clients. You're continuously reviewing, gathering more different information and requirements from the client. This is why it's so important to work in cycles. So I'm going to ask you, how many of you are working right now in a waterfall project, or using waterfall? There is anyone? Obviously, yeah? One?
In some projects, waterfall, in other in Agile.
Okay.
Some things in Agile and the other things in waterfall. Use sprints, but it's continuous working in waterfall. It's Fortris. You're working waterfall, close project.
Uh-huh. Okay, and Jesus, normally these type of projects are like what I said, like very linear and short in time, no? Okay, yeah. And Agile, how many people use Agile? Like everybody. Okay, so now we are going to see that the next decision that you have to take. Okay, almost everybody goes for Agile. Let's see how we are going to implement Agile, because Agile is not an implementation. Agile is a set of principles, generic. Now you have to choose one of the possible implementation of Agile, and here's I would say the most famous, Scrum and Kanban. Has two different philosophies, or is aiming a different goal of doing it from a different perspective. Scrum is more intended for complex projects with frequent changes. And here is a big difference with Kanban. Is based on what I said, iteration. Short development cycles, named sprints. You could split your team in time. You're going to split it in small self-organized teams. That is quite important to scale. We will see it later. And here is building 3 pillars. The main 3 concepts is adaptation, transparency, and inspection. Adaptation is quite important in Agile. Adapt to the changes, because precisely you're choosing agile because you are going to have continuous changes during the execution of the project. Transparency, because between or within these cycles, everybody that is involved should know what we are going to do, what we need. So there is a planning, and everybody needs to be aware of what's happening. And inspection, because you want to see how it went each sprint, and there is a mindset or philosophy of continuous improvement. Kanban, in the other side, is more focused on the what we have to do, the tasks. And the main thing, or the heart of this methodology is the Kanban board. There is a board. You see inside the board you have all the tasks regarding the product, everything that you have to do. And instead of going in cycles, is normally a continuous progressing. You are continuously reviewing what you have to do, what is the big picture of all your tasks that you have to do. So you improve the visibility of the project, of the tasks state, and reduce the inefficiencies in the project. So you're continuously reviewing, you have continuously the big picture, and you know how to do, and you can detect what is not working, what is working, the priorities of all the tasks, if you have prioritized properly. And this is exactly what we choose at Fortris. When the project started in 2018, we were using Kanban. It was a small group. Mostly everybody was senior, so it was clear that it was the option. Here, I'm going to ask again, how many of you are using Scrum? So most of you, and Kanban? Okay, so it's divided. Well, and here foster the culture of continuous improvement. I think both of them, but in the Kanban is in the sense of you're continuously reviewing. Here is a table comparing the both methodologies. So I'm going to review very quickly. Roles. Kanban doesn't have roles. Scrum has the three main roles. There is the Scrum Master. There is a facilitator inside the team. Product owner. There is the owner of the backlog where we have all the tasks, and the development team in a very generic sense. So it's the developers, QAs, etc. As I said, Kanban is continuous. Scrum more focused on these cycles of the sprint. The policy in Kanban, you're changing continuously. In Scrum, instead, generally you don't change things during the sprint. And the artifacts, Kanban use the Kanban board, as we said, is the heart of the method. And in Scrum, it uses the product backlog. Means everything that we have to relate it with the product. More specifically, during the sprint backlog and the product increments. That is what we are going to do in this sprint to add new functionality or improve the product. Tools. There are several tools in both of them. I think the most known or the most used is Jira software. Actually, how many of you use Jira here? Like almost everybody. And the key and the pillars of both efficiency, effective and predictable, I think in Kanban is a key factor that differentiates a little bit, because you have this big board, you're continually reviewing, and it's more predictable. And the Scrum, what I mentioned, transparency, adaptation, and inspection. And very quickly, there are four Scrum Ceremonies. All of you, or most of you, are using Scrum, so you probably know it very well. The sprint planning, planification in the sprint, daily Scrums or stand-up, where all the team have a daily meeting, and they plan the work in this day. And also very important, it's not a meeting to justify the what you're going to do or the status. Is more to identify dependencies in between your peers or blockers. The sprint review, showcase, you're showing what has been done in the progress you have been done in the sprint, and the retrospective. That here you analyze. Here's part of the continuous improvement. You analyze what do you want, what went well, and what failed, and what can do in order to improve what it doesn't go well. And just to point that agile is not ceremonies, ceremonies. It's a mindset. So yeah, this is important. Sometimes people confuse that these events in the Scrum are the methodology itself, but no, agile is a mindset. It's a set of principles. So yeah, which one to select? In the case of Fortris, we select Kanban. But yeah, this can change. Actually, there are probability that we will pivot to Scrum in some point. Growth. So in 2019, well, in 2018, the main goal of the company was to finish an MVP and go live. That happened in November. And we continue growing in 2019. We continue adding key features to the platform. So regarding the growth, when a company starts as a small group, as a startup, and you start growing, and your product, in this case the platform, finance platform that we created is getting more complex, and the team get bigger, new problems appear. That depending on how much you scale, how much you grow in the team, this problem could become critical or not. So first, the development team, in a generic sense, starts struggling to handle the entire platform. It gets more complicated, and it's more difficult to have the entire knowledge of everything that is happening and how everything is worked, how it's implemented. The second one is quite obvious. If you have one single team that is growing and growing and growing, at some point you can't celebrate the agile events properly. Imagine the planning where, I don't know, you want to maybe participate, and there is that amount of people that is continuously adding the point of view that maybe, okay, you start thinking my thoughts has value or has been covered for another person. So it's complicated, this interaction. Or the stand-ups. In the stand-ups, it's complicated because you have more and more time. It's thing to have a limited time, and you start having a duration far longer than 15 minutes. You can get 30 minutes very, very quickly, so it's becoming not effective. So, sorry. Also, that is quite important. If your team start growing and growing and growing, you have a risk to affect the stability and the cohesion. You have a links between the members of the team, and could be affected. Imagine a newcomer, and you have a team of 40 people. You don't know that people, and you're going to have a request an amount of time in order to start having some linking and working fluidly with these people. So in 2020, what we did is dividing the main group, the team, in smaller teams. We created what is named pods in Agile. So it's a smaller, multifunctional teams. And unfortunately, in that year also we have the pandemic to make it a little bit difficult. 5 minutes, okay. So from the Agile definition, the Agile pod definition, there are, as I said, smaller groups, between 4 and 8, but this is something approx, so you can adapt it what you need. In these smaller groups, what it does is, because one problem is handling all the platform, is start dividing your product in domains, and then start it, or you can call it a task, requirement, or part of the backlog. But you start dividing the product in domains and distributed these domains in the small group. And then what you're trying to do is get, again, the maximum potential of your team by creating these smaller teams. And then you create it by having people with different expertise and giving them some autonomy, some ownership. And of course, the main goal is to expect, again, having the best quality output. So what we did is not exactly following this definition, having an hybrid between what is a Scrum team and an Agile pod, and adapted. I think adaptation is our key word here. You have to adapt to the reality of your team and your project. So yeah, in example, the roles, we have some role that is the pod lead, that is coming from the Agile pod, but we have the product owner, this is a role coming from the Scrum teams. Splitting the domains, as I said, and fully operative teams. I will show you a matrix that you will see this clearly. And the benefits transitioning is that allows continuous scaling the project and growing the teams. You can keep scaling and have the best results. Another, what we mentioned, keep the groups with cohesion and stability, and also dividing the product in domains and distributed by within the pods allows the expertise and keep the high quality output. So here we have the horizontal teams. In the development we have the backend and frontend, QA, DevOps, etc. And then these people, you can assign it to the different pods, and you fulfill it with the roles of the a pod lead. You can call it also delivery lead, because the pods are focused on delivery, and the product owners. And here's I think the key of the pods. What we should do, alignment, look for the alignment or autonomy, and it's a balance between that. With alignment, we ensure that the main goal, the main mission of the company, everybody has it clear, even if they're working separately in smaller teams. You have a consistency across the teams. You establish some standards in the company, and you can share resources and knowledge. That means saving costs for the company. Things like we are going to use the same technology or the same tooling. You can save money with the licenses instead of having different and doubling the cost, in example. And knowledge. In order to be able in the future the pods to collaborate, you have to if you are able to share the knowledge, and let's say you do an investigation, Spike or a POC, you can share this knowledge between the different pods. And by having the company culture, you're going to have alignment. By having alignment, you can bring some trust to these pods, and with this trust, you're going to give some autonomy to them. And with the autonomy, you're going to you can get more flexibility within the pod. They can adapt to the different domain in a better way. We can with this autonomy bring a space to the creativity and resolution, and promote the trust culture that normally results in improving in the motivation of the people. And because in this expertise, in these specific domains, are only the people in the pod involved, you're going to get faster decision making. I'm going to jump this. This is a case of a study. Spotify tried to implement some of this, but it wasn't good. They started in the 2012, And in 2015 or something like that, it was well known that they failed on that. And here's some of the reasons. I'm going to jump it because I'm running out of time. But if you can Google it, it's quite interesting, and it's a good point to know what failed for others, to don't do the same errors. In 2021, we moved to a new office in Malaga, and we doubled the size of the team. We were 40, I think, and we doubled to 80 people. So we get more new challenges. And just one more thing, in 2022, we have a new reality, and we have new ways to work. Working from the office, the classic one, in a daily basis, working from home, and some companies allow you to work hybrid, full remote, and now in many companies, Fortris included, now is working full remote. And there is new, you can see now there is a lot of discussion about the asynchronous work. So would be the next step. It would be feasible to have it less meetings, less calls, and having asynchronous communication, asynchronous working hours, and things like that is something that is on the table right now. So resuming, it's quite important to have a strong company culture to establish these core values. It's what is going to give you a good foundation for your company. So having it in the beginning. These were some examples that I found in Fortris at the beginning. You're using Agile to have it clear this is a mindset, and the mindset has to be first over the methodology. At the end is an implementation. Choose the methodology, and I think the most important is all of these growing and restructuring your teams. You need practice and persistence. You need adaptability to keep growing and succeeding with that. And there is no silver bullets. There is no magical formula. So, yeah. I don't know if there is any question.
Any question? For following those agile approaches, are you self-organizing or are you hiring agile coaches as part of the team?
There are people that are agile experts, but they are as part of the team. Yeah, actually, it's one of in the profile of the pod lead, they have to have this agile background. Yeah, it's important. And
Any last question? No. Gracias. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Only one comment. Right now in Fortris, we're working with 3 pods. We are aiming to our four last pod, and we have open positions. So if someone is interested, review the fortris.com page. Thank you.